I'm not sure yet that healthy children really need the vaccine. For children who have a long life ahead of them, the first vaccine might not be the best one.
Dr. Kang, the reason I've been wanting to talk to you today is the subject expert committee's recommendation to give approval to Covaxin for children in the age group of 2 to 18. Now, the recommendation has gone to DCGI and the approval is pending, but it seems that it's a foregone conclusion. I wanted to get a sense from you on if you've seen whatever data that has been submitted by Covaxin to the subject expert committee, and is there any insight we have on what that data says, because none of it has been made public.
So the data that goes from a company to the subject expert committee is privileged information. It's up to the company whether they want to release that data or not. The information that is publicly available on that trial is the information that is available in the Clinical Trials Registry of India. And in that, which has to be submitted before the company actually starts testing, is the idea that the trial will be done as most trials that go into children are done in an age descending fashion. So 3 age groups in which 175 children will be recruited into each age group, making a total of 525 children. So there's no control arm in this group, and the idea here is to evaluate samples from those children before they get the vaccine, and then after 1 and 2 doses of the vaccine given 28 days apart. What we've been told in the media, at least, is that the data from the children is no different from the adults, which means that the immune responses that were seen in children is similar to that in adults. So what we've got is immunogenicity data on 525 children, presumably. And we also have data on 25,000 people that participated in the clinical trial, half of whom got the vaccine. And we have safety data from tens of millions of people that have received Covaxin in the program. So there's a substantial safety database. There is some efficacy data. No real effectiveness data that I am aware of, though I'm told it is on the way. So we know that the vaccine works. We know that the vaccine is safe. We now have confirmation in a group of children that the vaccine is producing the same immune response as in adults. That, I think, is sufficient data for the subject expert committee to consider approval for the vaccine under restricted use or emergency authorization or whatever terminology is in use today.
And from what I understand, the dosage given to the children is also the same as it was given to the adults. Is that also something that's normal when we are, carrying out these trials in children?
Yeah, so that is the part where Covaxin differs a bit from the other vaccines, because for the other vaccines, there has been a reduction in dosage given to children. And it makes sense because for many vaccines, you see a higher reactogenicity in children because they have a lower body mass. With Covaxin, we're talking about a vaccine that wasn't very reactogenic in adults. We have a large safety database. And the immune response perhaps is not as good as some of the other vaccines. So if the goal is to maximize the immune response in children, it's not really a problem to give children the same dose of an inactivated vaccine as you give to adults.
A lot of people are asking this question, that the WHO approval for Covaxin for adults is still awaited. Is this too rushed a decision, especially since children are involved?
Well, I don't think it is. So I think we have to separate two things. One is the approval for the vaccine, and the other is the use of the vaccine. Now, if we look at the approval for the vaccine, what else do you want the vaccine company to do? They would not have started the trials on children without the approval of the DCGI. Now, if they've generated the data that DCGI told them to generate and gone back to DCGI with that data, you can't ask more of the company. Now, the next thing is, what do you want to do with the information? The fact that a vaccine is approved does not necessarily mean that we will use the vaccine in the same way that we are using vaccine in adults. We have not vaccinated all adults in our country first. So the fact that the same vaccine is licensed for use in children doesn't mean immediately you start vaccinating 2-year-olds, right? We should be aiming at making sure we have really high coverage of the vulnerable populations and then think about vaccinating others. There are other things to consider. When it comes to children, I absolutely think that children with comorbidities, we should be thinking about vaccinating them. But the question is, which is the best vaccine for children in India? Right now, the only vaccines that we have are Covaxin and Zycov-D, which are for 12 and above. And then for 2 and above, you have Covaxin, presumably when it's approved, right? So should we vaccinate children with comorbidities? I think right now, even though the circulating virus is relatively low, using an inactivated vaccine in children with comorbidities should be generally safe. We may not be able to achieve a very high immune response, but it may give some protection. So on balance, I think it's all right. I also think it should be done with very close monitoring to measure the immune response in children and try and figure out if in this special group, the vaccine is really doing what we want for it to do. Do we want to vaccinate healthy children? That I'm still really doubtful about, because I'm not sure yet that healthy children really need the vaccine. I'm also, we've got 60% coverage of infection in children who have not received vaccine at all. Do we really want to vaccinate kids that may already have had exposure to natural infection? I don't know what the risk of disease is, because there's no data in India that tells us how badly healthy children do when they get infected. Anecdotal data from my hospital, from pediatricians that I speak to, is that the severe disease and the deaths that they have seen in children have always been in children with comorbidities. It's very, very, very rarely that a healthy child develops an infection, it becomes really severe. So I'm still doubtful, even if there's lots and lots of vaccine available and all adults are covered, I'd still have my doubts about the benefits of vaccinating healthy children.
Right, and then there's also the stand that's being taken by activists, including the WHO, which says that the vaccination drive for children can wait. The world needs the vaccine for vulnerable adults, and we need to be getting that vaccine to them. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. And you did say that perhaps we need to prioritize children with comorbidities in India, but I just wanted your thoughts, your own personal thoughts on that.
No question. I think the last 8 months, particularly, maybe the last 5 months, particularly, have been a story of incredible success of the Indian vaccination program. I know everybody's always counting the numbers, 10 million today, 25 million another day. But honestly, delivering 4 to 5 million doses of vaccine every day is an incredible achievement, and it's something that the whole country should be proud of, that we are able to do this consistently over such a long period of time, and our vaccine companies are producing enough for us to continue to do that. So I think the stage that we are at, where we are thinking about now exporting vaccines, beginning exports of small amounts of vaccine to the rest of the world, is really stepping up and showing leadership. We need to make sure that adults in the world are protected before we think about vaccinating healthy children. By then, we'll also have more data on all the different kinds of vaccines and how they are performing in children. For children who have a long life ahead of them, the first vaccine might not be the best one. We may find that there may be a second version of an mRNA vaccine that doesn't cause viral myocarditis. We may find that combinations of different platforms might be better for children. So for children, when you're thinking about vaccinating them to give them the best, broadest, longest lasting protection, I'd really like to see better data before we go off and immunize our entire cohort of under 18-year-olds.
Dr. Kang, I just wanted to ask you, I understand the company is not obligated to share the data with anybody, but given the scenario and the times we live in and difficult decisions that parents need to make, that extra data out there that has been reviewed, has been looked at by experts like you, sort of is reassuring for parents, and then they can make that decision on that reassurance. So I just wanted your thoughts on, do you think it's okay to be holding back on this data from the public at this moment?
Well, my personal bias is always that as much data as possible should be out there in the public domain. But I guess companies and regulators have their priorities as well, and they don't necessarily share data as early as possible. But I think more important than them sharing clinical trial data is what I'd like to see of data now on burden of disease. Given everything that we know about vaccines, we know that most vaccines are likely to work. What we don't know is how long will they work for? How well will they work against variants? And those data and the safety data don't come from the clinical trials that the companies do. They come from the real world evidence that is generated once the vaccines are widely used. Given the amount of testing that is happening in the country, given the amount of vaccine use that we have in the country, it would be just fantastic if we could have access to that data. We now have a COVID-19 vaccine tracker that is on the Ministry of Health website that tells you how well vaccines are working against mortality, or that's what it's trying to do. But we have very poor data on mortality. We already know that. And it doesn't even distinguish between which vaccine it is. It just tells you so many people had 1 dose and so many people had 2 doses. So it's not really useful when you want to try and use that information to be able to make decisions about what the future of the vaccination program should look like.
Dr. Kang, I just wanted to end before I end, I just wanted to ask, there's been much conversation about vaccinating the kids in India before reopening schools. And, every time a state government sort of comes close to making that decision is pushed back. We do know the kind of impact closing of schools has had on kids. Is this a realistic and sensible conversation to even have?
The way I think about it, schools need to open. You need to be careful. You need to have precautions in place, make sure that all the staff are vaccinated, that there's good ventilation, that people in school, including children, wear masks. But I don't think that there is any reason not to open schools. We have to recognize that there will be a small number of infections that can occur when people mingle with other people. But overall, schools have not been a huge driver of virus circulation anywhere in the world. There have been occasional outbreaks with teachers infecting children and children infecting teachers, but nothing that has resulted then in sustained transmission in the whole pandemic or waves coming back. They've tended to be quite isolated. So as long as we take precautions and we are prepared, I don't think there are any issues to not any reasons not to open schools. I think it's also important to recognize that in other parts of the world where the impact of opening schools has been studied, nowhere did they have the kind of seropositivity rate that is there in India. So we are likely to have even less disease than they did.